Oh, hello everybody. I hope you're all having a happy holiday season. I know I am. What, you didn't think I was gonna let three little abominations and a madman with a stupid name ruin my holidays, did you? No. I know how to deal with Scrooges. So, I decided to do what I always do when I feel down. Watch episodes of family shows. Specifically, the Christmas episodes. And so, I was thinking the other day, why not just share them with you? So with that, I decided to make this list of my favorite Christmas episodes. Now, there are a few rules in order to get onto this list. First, it has to be at least 22 minutes. With 11-minute episodes, I just don't feel it's that special. I'm also disqualifying any episodes that are parodies of either A Christmas Carol or It's a Wonderful Life. Don't get me wrong, there are some great episodes that parody those movies, but I wanted to give more attention to the ones that were more original. It also has to be mainly about Christmas. Now, that doesn't mean it can't also feature a Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or some made-up holiday, but it has to focus mostly on Christmas. Only one episode per series, and finally, it must be for a family audience. For me, the TGIF sitcoms are about as high as I go. So, sorry Seinfeld and Community, maybe some other time. Also, while I won't directly say how the episodes end, some of the things I have to say may lead you to figure it out for yourselves, but I'll try to keep them vague. So, with no more stalling, here are my top 15 favorite Christmas episodes.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder, no need to explain. Just have some faith in what you see. You'll right here where you wanna be. Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. Down Santa Claus Lane.
Number 15. Billy and Mandy Save Christmas from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. We're starting out with a non-conventional episode. If you're looking for merriness, well, you're just gonna have to wait. The episode starts out at the mall where Billy annoys the mall Santa, who just so happens to be Scar, which is hilarious. Mandy, being the spawn of Satan of course, doesn't believe in Santa Claus. So after burning down the mall, apparently a common thing, Grim takes them to meet Santa. But when they get there, Mrs. Claus informs them that he has become a vampire. Because who doesn't think of vampires at Christmas? Now the group must destroy the head vampire who lives at the Forbidden Castle of No Return. This episode is just funny. Like I said in my Underfist review, the humor won't appeal to everyone, but if you do like it, then seeing the show's dark humor is great when against the backdrop of Christmas. I mean, when Santa's elves turn into vampire bats and start chasing the main characters through the toy factory, you know what you're in for. There's also a really good twist as to who the head vampire is. It at least got me the first time I saw it. Also, Gilbert Gottfried is Santa Claus. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, this episode may not be for everyone, but if you love some dark humor and gross out done right, it's a great contrast to the warm, fuzzy, maritime pleasure you normally see in Christmas specials.
Whoa, this one has 2 bedrooms and 3 baths.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 14. Merry Christmas Keenan from Keenan and Kel. I watched quite a few episodes I had never seen before for this list, and I ended up getting a lot of surprises. However, this one was my favorite. I had only seen a few episodes of Keenan and Kel back when the 90s or all that block started up a few years ago, and I loved it, and this episode shows why. Keenan has been saving up all his money for the past year to get a special mountain bike, which really makes me glad I don't live in a time where you can work a job and save up your allowance for a year and just barely be able to afford a bike. But whatever. While looking at the bike, Keenan gets hired to play Santa after the last one had to leave. Trust me, after watching the number 9 episode on this list, that becomes even funnier. Well, there, he meets a young boy and his sister, and all the boy wants is for his sister to get a new bike for Christmas after hers was stolen. But unfortunately, the mother can't afford it. So now Keenan has to decide on whether he should buy his own bike or one for the little girl. We've seen this plot before, but what I liked about it was that it doesn't have any of that forced sentimentality. It doesn't try and create a moment. Now, don't get me wrong, I love sentimentality, and you'll probably see some of those forced moments all over this list, but it's nice to see an episode just play out like it would in reality. It feels kind of genuine, and that makes some of the moments stronger. Also, the episode is just really funny. It was written by Dan Schneider, so if you have a high tolerance for his type of humor, you should enjoy this episode.
Slinging boom,
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 13. Harry Christmas from American Dragon Jake Long. I forgot how good this show was. It was not only funny, but actually showed how hard it could be being both a teenager and a superhero. It was like Spider-Man 2, the series. Jake has become tired of his family's old Christmas traditions such as Jingle Bell Barnyard, family caroling, and the dreaded family photos with the ugly sweaters. Eventually, he tells his dad off and has to leave to help return a Yeti to his family. This episode shows that while we may be embarrassed by our families, especially around the holidays, you shouldn't take it for granted, as some people don't have families to spend it with. Trixie's dad can't make it home for Christmas, and she even tells Jake that all she wants to do is make eggnog with him, even though she hates the stuff. And the Yeti has it even worse as he's alone in New York City, far away from his family, being chased by a dragon, 2 teenagers in masks, and a crazy science teacher. There's also some well-done action scenes and an ending so sweet that I dare you not to smile. The only thing holding it back is a problem that unfortunately plagued the entire series.
Just for once, can't we do Christmas with some fresh beats? It's gonna be off the hook. Don't sweat it, G. Trying to cut down on the lameness factor, that's all. But you're gonna have to chill on the smash and crash. You feel me?
Swag. But if you can get past the horrible dialogue Dante Bosco is forced to say, then you will find a very sweet, very funny, very action-packed holiday episode.
Okay, everybody hit your noses.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 12. You know, it was hard choosing between the 2 SpongeBob Christmas episodes. Do I go with the surprisingly good newer episode, or do I let nostalgia take over? Well, the internet certainly loves its nostalgia, doesn't it? Christmas Who from SpongeBob SquarePants. I love this episode. It is exactly what you would expect a Christmas episode of SpongeBob to be like. Sandy tells SpongeBob about the joys of Christmas and he instantly falls in love with the idea, managing to get everyone else in Bikini Bottom interested except, of course, for Squidward. Most of the episode is focused on the residents sending their letters and an incredibly catchy song, as Squidward tries convincing them that there is not a Santa Claus. Is he right? Well, you'll have to watch the episode to find out. I love the story of this episode. It totally makes sense that the residents of Bikini Bottom wouldn't know what Christmas is, and besides just being really funny and having that earworm of a song, the ending of the episode perfectly conveys the message of Christmas, that it is better to give than to receive. There's a line that Squidward says that, as cheesy as it is, puts a big smile on my face every time I watch it. So while I did really enjoy It's a SpongeBob Christmas and it has some fantastic stop motion animation, you just can't beat the time Christmas first came to Bikini Bottom.
This Christmas feels like the very first Christmas to me.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 11. A Very Derekous Christmas from Life with Derek. Life with Derek was pretty popular while it was airing, but you don't hear about it much anymore, which is a shame. I really liked it, and this episode shows why. All the kids of the family are going away for the holidays. Casey and Lizzie are planning to go to New York to spend it with their dad, Edwin and Marty are planning on going on a ski trip, and Derek is heading to Florida to celebrate his own holiday, Derecus. But of course, being Canada, they get snowed in, along with their Aunt Madge. And for a majority of the episode, things keep getting worse. Since their parents thought they would be spending the holidays alone, all they bought was a small quail. They can't get the presents which are still at the store, and Derek is pretty much staying in his room. You can probably guess how it ends, and despite its predictability, it still really works. Mostly because these characters are just so likable. If they weren't, then the story would have been boring. But because they all work well off each other, it all leads to a lot of laughs and a really sweet ending. And that's all I ask for in a Christmas episode. And even if you hate Disney sitcoms, I recommend this one. You might be surprised. And even if you aren't, you can at least take comfort in knowing that no matter how poorly your holidays turn out, at least you're not spending it with Derek.
I'm home.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 10. Operation Naughty from Codename Kids Next Door. Well, of all the episodes on this list, I can safely say this is one of the most original. On Christmas Eve, 5 people who look suspiciously like the Sector V crew attack the North Pole. They are then attacked when they get back to the treehouse by Santa's elite strike force, Alpha Strike. However, they soon learn it couldn't have been them due to the fact that number 3 has a secret Santa surprise reindeer monkey, which are only available on Christmas Eve. It turns out that the actual culprits were, and hold on to your seats, the delightful children from down the lane, who want to take Santa's giant gift-giving machine and give themselves all the presents. This episode gets points just for creativity alone. From Santa having an elite fight team that has a secret weapon where they literally just drop the 12 days of Christmas on people, to one of the enemies being a substitute teacher mad that Substitute Teachers Day not getting as much recognition as Christmas.
There's a holiday for substitute teachers?
It fits perfectly in the world of the K&D and is one of the reasons I love this show. The only thing I can complain about is that it's weird that Alpha Strike thinks Sector V is responsible when the delightful children went into Santa's sled room, so why did he suspect them if they were at the treehouse? Also, how does Santa never know he's gonna get caught or ambushed? I thought he could see everything. Whatever, it's still a great episode with awesome action, funny lines, and a somewhat sweet ending.
So, let's see what's under the tree this year.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 9. Dan vs. the Mall Santa from Dan Vs. If there was any show I talked about more this year than MLP and Cora, it was Dan Vs., and this episode was one of my favorites. Dan needs to buy a present for his cat Mr. Mumbles and goes with Chris to the mall to get a part-time job. Dan gets a job as an elf, which is hilarious by itself. That rhymed. And Chris as a dancing snowman. However, Dan gets in a fight with the mall Santa who just isn't very jolly. Meanwhile, Elise is tracking down a master of disguise known as the Snowman, who has plans to kill her. And the reveal of who the Snowman is so good that I won't even dare hint at it. This episode does a great job of going against expectations. You think Dan will be a Scrooge? No, he loves Christmas. Think the mall Santa will become happy as the episode goes on? Nope, he tries to kill Dan. Think Dan will just let it go and learn the true meaning of Christmas? Nope, he keeps holding a grudge. This is great if you want something different. Not to say there aren't any heartwarming moments. In fact, the last 10 seconds of this episode gave me the biggest, dopiest smile of all the episodes I watched. But the episode mostly has a very dark sense of humor with hate-fueled rage, Russian spies, and a lot of that hilarious dialogue that are the reason I love this show so much.
Chris, that is not in the holiday spirit. Now come and help me annihilate Santa.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder. No need to
Number 8.
explain.
A Very Possible Christmas from Kim Possible. Even though I said Harry Christmas was great because of how it portrayed how much teenagers are embarrassed by their family's Christmas traditions, it was nice to see an episode where the teenager embraces them. Kim and her family are hanging out on Christmas, doing their annual Christmas things, as Ron is sad over the cancellation of his favorite holiday special, Snowman Hank. Kim gives him a digital photo album as a gift, and in return, Ron decides to take on the mission of stopping Draken from taking over the world. As stupid as it was, Ron trying to save the world so Kim could spend Christmas with her family was probably the best gift he could have gotten her. There's plenty of references to specials from The Grinch to Christmas Vacation. It also has the nice theme of family and friends and basically feels like an old Christmas special that were just so cheesy, but you couldn't help but like them. But with some action thrown in. After all, what's a better family tradition than fighting giant anacondas on Christmas Eve? Oh, and catchy song is catchy. Why do these specials have such earwormingly catchy songs?
And roast beast and frim franglers and zoob zooblers.
Oh, Dr. D.
What?
You've stopped using words.
Oh.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder. No need
Number
to
7.
explain.
A Lost Clause from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. See, I told you Foster's had good episodes. I told you Foster's had great episodes. And this is one of them. It's Christmas time at Foster's and Blue is upset over the fact that he will only get one present this year. Mac reminds him that Santa will bring him more, but at that point a bunch of imaginary Santas enter and Mac begins to question Santa's existence. Blue, not wanting to accept that he will only get one present, tries to show Mac that Santa can exist. How does he do this? try to fly Wilt around the world with the alicorn, send Eduardo down the chimney, and taking Mac to see the mall Santa, who turns out to be Coco. She doesn't try to kill him at any point, unlike some of the other mall Santas on this list, but he does accidentally get her fired, and when they get home, they see that Eduardo is stuck and Wilt hasn't returned. So yeah, if this were a bad Foster's episode, you could probably see this episode ending right here. But the episode actually ends with one of the most heartwarming, most satisfying endings on this list. In fact, for once they got mean-spirited right. The depressing first 2 acts make the last act all the stronger. This certainly isn't the funniest episode on the list, but it does have its moments. And as I said earlier, this is probably the most satisfying ending on this list. Not best, but most satisfying. So why isn't it higher? Well, there's only one problem, and it's the conflict. Mac, you live in a world where anybody can literally create life just by thinking. How is Santa hard to believe? But besides this, a lost clause is about as nice as getting a stocking full of underwear. That's a really good thing, by the way.
Do you realize what this means?
It means that everything in the world is a lie!
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 6. Jingle Jingle Jangle from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Eddie has found his Christmas presents, and it turns out all he has are clothes.
A dickie?
So he decides to leave his parents and spend Christmas with someone else in the cul-de-sac. However, as the episode goes on, he finds that incredibly hard to do due to the weird traditions that a lot of the other kids have. And along the way, Ed and Double D try to teach Eddie the true meaning of Christmas, which works out about as well as you'd expect. Of all the episodes on this list, this one is the funniest. Ed's pure love of Santa gets me every time. The religious parodies are really clever, and seeing the weird traditions that the other kids have are just amazing. For example, Johnny brings all the snow into his house and pretends to be Jack Frost. Jimmy makes his own treats that include cookies made out of butter, and Rolf, well...
Eating loaded dirt and rocks are Linda bearded maiden fair, whose kitchen pot is bigger than her size of underwear. Hey!
Well, everyone's allowed to celebrate what they want. In fact, this does show the diversity of not just different religions, but how people of the same faith can celebrate the holiday in different ways. You don't see that often. The ending of this episode is beyond hilarious in how much it flips the Christmas tropes on its head, and really the only reason it isn't higher is because 2 characters who don't deserve to get punished do. But that doesn't stop this episode from being a fantastic Christmas special and a fantastic whatever the hell this is special as well.
What's a guy gotta do to find a normal Christmas around here?
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 5. Christmas at the Tipton from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. This show was always a guilty pleasure of mine, but I still consider this episode one of the greats. The twins are planning on going skiing with their dad Kurt for Christmas while Carrie heads to Mexico. Cody is upset over the fact that they won't be able to spend Christmas together, but he doesn't have to worry for long as a blizzard has forced all the roads and airports to close down. And now Carrie and Kurt agree to get along to keep Cody happy, and when he sees them, he thinks they will get back together. And as the blizzard gets worse, Arwen tries to heat up the hotel as Cody tries to heat up his parents' relationship. Wow, that was terrible. Anyway, this is similar to A Very Derek's Christmas, but the reason it gets a higher ranking is because not everything works out perfectly, but still leaves you with that Christmas spirit at the end. And a lot of stuff happens in it. We basically follow 3 different stories, and all of them are entertaining and funny. Then there are the religious allegories, which aren't subtle at all, but hey, still nice to see a reference to the whole reason Christmas exists. Well, I guess you could make the argument that some of these other episodes are better, and you're probably right. Remember, this is my list, and this episode honestly does make me happy every time I watch it. And I also want to give an honorable mention to the Sweet Life on Deck episode, A London Carol, which was a good episode, but was disqualified for being a Christmas Carol parody. But even if it wasn't, I don't think it could have beaten this. I can't think of any better place to spend Christmas than at the Tipton Hotel.
A couple gets together at Christmas, he plays the piano, she sings, and they rekindle their flame of love. You watch way too much TV.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 4. Phineas and Ferb's Christmas Vacation from Phineas and Ferb. Oh man, I gotta describe the plot of this episode. Okay, so Phineas and Ferb want to thank Santa for all the times he brought them presents. Instead of just sending him a thank you letter like normal kids, they get the whole town involved to decorate the city to show him how much they appreciate him. Meanwhile, Perry is trying to stop Doofenshmirtz's plan to destroy Christmas by turning the entire tri-state area naughty. But he actually doesn't have the ambition to destroy Christmas since he actually doesn't hate it. Unfortunately though, that is ruined by the one true evil of Christmas, the carolers. And now with Santa thinking that the entire town is naughty, he sends back all their litters. And now it's up to the gang to prove that Danville is actually nice. Along with that, there's also subplots with Candace trying to find out what to get Jeremy, two elves at the North Pole trying to figure out why an entire town went bad, Buford wanting to do one random act of kindness to get on Santa's good list, Belgie trying to get a kiss from a pretty girl. Bottom line, like all Phineas and Ferb episodes, everything wraps up in the end. And that's what pushes this episode so high, just how complex it is. And yet it still manages to tie up every loose end. And I don't think there's any better way to show how great Christmas is than having Doofenshmirtz not completely hate it. This is the guy who grew up with a father who made him be a lawn gnome, and yet even his Christmases were alright. The songs are great, all of them, which is saying a lot since there are quite a bit of them. And while I'm sure you're tired of hearing this by now, the ending is just really heartwarming, with the best twist ending you'll see on this list. Also, what the hell is this kid on, and where can I get some?
Whoa, is it me, or does the sky look really dark and ominous, as if it's foreshadowing events which will have a negative impact on our lives?
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder.
Number 3. The Fright Before Christmas from Danny Phantom. 'Twas the day before Christmas, and all across the city, every person was cheery, except for young Danny. He hated Christmas the whole Christmas season, and if you ask why, the show gives you a reason. His parents, they fought over the man called St. Nick. It drove Danny crazy, and he ran away quick. To the Ghost Zone he went, where he meets the Ghost Writer, who just finished a book, and couldn't be happier. But Danny destroys his new book, and now being quite mad, he curses young Danny to a life that's quite sad. His life is now in rhyme and everything Christmassy attacks, and Tucker and Sam won't believe the sad sack. So now he is hated all across Amity Park, and now must finish his Christmas story arc. Alright, the rhyming in this episode is a lot better than mine, and after writing that, I have more respect for this episode than ever. Danny has a perfectly good excuse for being a Grinch. His parents always made his holidays a living hell with their arguing, which puts him ahead of just not liking traditions. The action and comedy are pretty par for the course as far as Danny Phantom episodes go, but it gets a huge boost in creativity. They could have easily gone with a Christmas Carol parody, but instead decided to do something original. I especially love the fact that Danny's enemies have a truce to not fight on Christmas. Not exactly sure why they're celebrating the birth of someone whose father wouldn't let them into heaven, but it's still nice. So the episode is fun and has a great use of rhyme scheme, and also has a ton of those great Christmas themes. The ending is nice and it has some good jokes, especially the ones coming from Danny's folks. If you want a nice episode with action and fun, then check out this one of Danny Phantom.
On this night before Christmas, a brand new attacker. And now face the wrath of my monster nutcracker!
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder. No need to
Number 2.
disdain.
Arthur's Perfect Christmas from Arthur. Oh god, I thought Phineas and Ferb's Christmas episode would be hard to sum up. Arthur is excited for Christmas, as any 8-year-old would be, but he wants this one to be perfect, with a classic Christmas dinner, a great tree, and giving presents to the people he loves. Except his dad is trying a new dinner, DW ruins half the tree, and everything keeps trying to destroy his mom's present. Along with that is also a dilemma between Francine and Muffy, with Muffy inviting Francine to her Christmas party, but she can't come due to it falling on the last day of Hanukkah. Along with that is Buster trying to deal with his mother, who wants to make Christmas perfect, even though Buster only wants her to relax. It's a lot of stuff, and it all works together very well. Of all the episodes on this list, this one is the most diverse. This is a Christmas episode, but it does go into the other holidays such as Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Baxter Day, which shows you don't have to celebrate any of these holidays to enjoy this time of year. You can just enjoy the day off work, if you get it. It's also really funny, probably my favorite joke being this.
Here, we got you a ham.
I didn't get that as a kid, but I do now. The songs are great and the multiple stories lead to some very heartwarming moments. How many times have I said heartwarming in this video? Anyway, Arthur's Perfect Christmas. A perfect Christmas episode. Wow, I'm getting really bad at these metaphors.
Stop whatever you're doing, let me hear you say, today is Baxter Day. It's just a relaxer day.
Now, before we get to number 1, I want to go over the episodes that didn't quite make the list. I, no joke, have 21 honorable mentions. Yes, this is one of the hardest lists I've ever had to do. I could have just done Nickelodeon shows and still had to make some pretty painful cuts. So, why not? Let's just go over the episodes that made it into the maybe category. So, if you want to skip it and just see my number 1, go here. But if you're willing to sit through it, sit back and let's look at the list of runner-ups.
Jade, I know you want to come, but it is far too dangerous.
And miss the joyride of a lifetime? We are Santa's helpers.
I just want to have things the way they were.
Excuse me, young lady. Can I get these in another size?
Take a number, Tommy.
You just told off Santa Claus.
This time you've gone too far, Bushroot, using Christmas trees to ruin Christmas. Why, it's just not Christmassy.
We've got mistletoe and firelight on this cold December night.
Let's not overdo it this time, Dad. What do you say?
Shucks, this is the perfect time of year to overdo it. Sweet merciful Kringle, you're naughty!
The amazing snow egg trick isn't working! The filthy, horrible humans aren't giving us any Earth monies! We need Earth monies to appear as normal Earth pigs!
What the?
Don't worry, you didn't hurt my smile.
8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 golden.
Sorry.
Look, Rain, the reindeers are inviting elves to join them for a party at Donner's house.
Somehow the idea of joining the Donner Party is unappealing.
Your answer's more elusive than it should be. I run into this problem every time. How could a guy that fat fit down a chimney? How could he survive the Arctic climb?
I'm Santa.
What? Santa Claus?
Now, Santa McMurphy. Yes, Santa Claus. Ah!
Isn't it cute? Good choice, Dee. Now, stand back. What are you doing? I'm gonna chop it down.
Oh, no, you don't. Not this tree.
On every holiday, I'm showered with gifts, but I never get the most important gift of all.
Love?
No. Weapons.
What?
Turns out, he could. And as the Great Wrigley Garbage Strike began, so did Pete's battle for the soul of Christmas.
Korisuma suome dato, Leonardo-san. I got you something.
A sword! Wicked! I got you something, too.
A sword? What a wonderful gift.
I wish every day could be Christmas. Cause Santa brings gifts every year. He's reading my list. He's feeding the deer. He's hauling my gifts from the North Pole to here.
Chestnuts are roasting, Christmas time is here. But something's missing and I'm wishing that you knew how much it would mean to spend this Christmas time with you.
Sleep in heavenly peace.
Happy holidays from my family to yours.
Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. No need to wonder, no need to explain. Just have some faith in what you see. You'll right here where you wanna be. Walking this Christmas down Santa Claus Lane. Down Santa Claus Lane.
Number 1. Arnold's Christmas from Hey Arnold. Yeah, I know, this is the cliche choice, and I really didn't want to be predictable, but I couldn't help it. You just look at this episode and it screams Christmas. The boarding house is having their yearly Secret Santa gift exchange and Arnold gets Mr. Win. Not knowing what he wants, he goes to talk to him and finds out about his daughter, Mai, who he had to give up during the Vietnam War. He goes to a government records office where he is told by the only man still working, Mr. Bailey, that he will help him find Mai if he buys everything he needs for Christmas. Meanwhile, Helga is trying to find the perfect gift for Arnold but can't find one. This episode has a lot of the same things that the other episodes on this list have, with the exception of the songs. It has plenty of laughs, incredibly heartwarming moments, different plots that tie together at the end, the message that it is better to give than to receive, and that spending time with your family around the holidays is, good. But what pushes it to number 1 is the atmosphere. The music, animation, and tone just make it feel so, for a lack of a better word, Christmassy. Not to say the other episodes don't have good atmosphere as well, because they do, but this episode is the one that just gives off the biggest Christmas vibe. Great animation, great story, and great characters. Arnold's Christmas is just great.
There's millions of people in this city. It would take a miracle to find her.
Maybe. But what better time for a miracle than Christmas? Isn't that what Christmas is really about?
And that was my list of my top 15 favorite Christmas episodes. If there are any episodes that you feel should have been on here that weren't, please leave them down in the comments. I'll be completely honest, there are probably tons that I missed. I mean, I only had so much time to do it, and these were the ones that I personally felt were the best. But if you think there are any that should have been on here, put them down, and maybe next year I'll make a list of the next best, because I'm not already enough of a nostalgia critic ripoff. I hope that whatever you celebrate, you have a very happy holiday season, and I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Happy holidays, everybody.
Do you want to build a snowman or ride a bike around the halls?
I think some company is overdue. I've started talking to the pictures on the wall.
What, you didn't think I was gonna forget that, did you?